See if anyone jumps in the chat in the meantime.
What are we doing?
Today's butterfly. So I wanted to work on some butterfly attacks. What's up, guys? If you guys are just tuning in, we're going to be working on butterfly guard, as you saw in the topic. Butterfly guard is so varied, especially in no-gi. There's lots of stuff you can do from there. There's one type of attack that I do like to teach, and I like to use a lot in training, that is like an upper body submission type of attack. You can also use sweeps. I mean, butterfly guard's big on sweeps. I love the hook sweep, which we may go over some details because there's certain details that I teach that not everyone knows. So I want to make sure everyone gets the full detail on the perfect hook sweep, something that I've probably been developing forever. My instructor Jamie Cruz is big on the hook sweep.
That move don't work.
Don't work, huh? Ed loves it, Ed. Ed, no, that's his benchmark. When the hook sweep works on someone.
Who's the guy that's using it still?
Adam Wardzinski.
Wardzinski.
Yeah, he's killing it with it.
Keenan was talking about him and how he is innovating.
Yeah.
Keenan feels on the butterfly. He's keeping it not only alive, but he's pushing it forward.
Yeah.
I think he is for sure. When the BJJ Scout did that whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He showed a lot of good details there.
Well, he was showing because it's hard to do butterfly guard when people stand up, especially in the gi.
Absolutely.
And he's showing ways to force them back to their knees, or even if they are standing, to do overhead sweeps,
right,
or mix it into other parts of the game. But for no gi, I mean, are people still using butterfly guard besides to get into like leg locks and stuff?
It's used a lot for leg locks. It's used a lot like the. I am going to go over the inverted armbar, which is getting popular now because Gordon is starting to bring that back.
Marcelo, that was old school.
Yeah, I know. Marcelo used to use that. We've been doing that forever, but now he's using it so effectively, even on Buchecha.
That's my big guy move. I would use this specific. I think what you're going to show on big guys. You're going to show the sweep or just the arm? We're
going to start with the arm attack, and then we're going to do some options from there because we can sweep, and we can also take the back or go into a belly down armbar and stuff like that. It's a nice sequence. But yeah, it's great against big guys.
Because big guys are confident. They can put their weight on you. They want to put their weight on you. This is kind of the guard where you're going to accept the weight. Yeah. And you kind of want the weight because you
want the weight.
Them.
Yeah, you want them to come forward. If they back away, butterfly guard doesn't work that well. And then it's like a constant, you're scooting, they're backing away. It's frustrating.
Right. One of the main problems I had early on butterfly guard is I'd ask you, these guys aren't coming forward. What do I do to them? That's kind of when you have to mix up a little bit. If they're not going to come onto you, and you can't carry their weight, you can't really do.
Yeah. In fact, a while ago I was doing some privates with. I was teaching Ari some privates, and he kind of had a similar question, and I gave him the base one. With the gi, it's a little bit easier because you have a chance to grab pants and come in, but you can threaten a good a double leg. So a lot of times, Ed is playing defensively where he's actually every time I come in, he's just backing away. So I have to get him to come forward. So a lot of times, what I'll do is I'll tuck my feet in, and then I'll just come in this way, put my head in his chest, really low on his chest, and grab by the knees. If he continues backing up, I'm just going to take him right over. Now, as soon as I come in and I start coming up and he comes forward, now I can start getting into my butterfly guard, into the hook sweep. Okay, so maybe we'll start with the hook sweep because that's the first move most people learn is how to use the butterfly hook to sweep on. So basic details here. When we're looking at this hook sweep is first how I'm sitting. I always sit with one leg flat and the other leg in front, and my body is sideways because I want my hip on the mat. If my butt's on the mat and not my hip, then if Ed puts pressure this way, I just roll. I'm like a ball. I want to be on the side right over here. And once I'm here, I'm going to start coming in. I insert my hook. My other leg is back, and I'm always making this angle this way. Okay, so there's a few variations. The first variation a lot of people like is the underhook. Okay, if you can get it, great. I have the underhook, and I put my head on the other side. Then I'm going to look to control his arm, either at the elbow or the wrist. a lot of times I'll start at the elbow. So if you're a beginner, start by grabbing the elbow first. I grab the elbow, pull it in, and use my elbow on the wrist, and I'm going to fall to my shoulder. Now, everything is with this leg. I'm going to stand on this leg over here, but keep my other leg bent. I'm not going to try to launch Ed, because if I do that, then if he starts sprawling as I extend my leg, he could end up in a position where he can smash my leg to the mat. So I avoid overly extending my leg. I keep my leg bent 90 degrees, or a little bit less than 90 degrees. And the reason this works is not because this hook is doing the work, it's because this leg is lifting up his hips. So I'm here, I control the arm, I fall, and then I come up. Now I hop into him. And I like using this knee over his hip, because what happens is if Ed tries to shrimp away, I'm over his knee and I'm flattening him out. Over his hip, I mean. My knee is actually over the hip. Always flattening him out. All right, let's move back just a little bit. So I'm here, I got the underhook, grab the elbow, and I pull in. I fall right to my shoulder, lifting up. Now my bottom leg comes up, comes back and stands. Then I start standing and my inside leg stays bent. And then I'm going to hop into him. And then this is the position. I can go right to my knee cuts. I can force a 3/4 mount. You look for head pressure. Real good way to start. So that's the...
So this is one of the simplest,
yeah,
and probably one of the first moves I ever learned.
Yes.
And people still run into a lot of problems with it.
Yeah.
The one you went over first was just the posture of coming into it here. People get lax and they keep their hands in the air. This is your post.
This is a pose. This is huge.
You're very active. You could do a technical stand-up, anything. You could just get up.
Yeah.
If they're backing away, you can get up and come into me, go for guillotines and stuff. This is a very active, if I don't want you to come too close, here, this is a very active position. This, you're very...
Yeah,
not, it's
coming
opposite.
in. You can get flattened out. People can run around you. And the other thing is, one of the things I know that Marcelo, he was the first person I ever saw do this, where he just used a collar tie to do the sweep.
I was doing this for a while.
Yeah, this is a great way, because especially if I'm trying to get this underhook and the person's just kind of backing away, but their head is forward, then I'll come over here in this position. And I'm using a collar tie just like in wrestling. I'm going to grab my elbows in front of his chest, okay? I'm over here, and then I'm going to look for the arm, either the wrist or the elbow. And then as I push it in, I push his head, and then I fall right to the sweep. As soon as he's over, I just bump him over. A lot of times, this is a sweep that you use when you're trying to set something up. Neither one of us are really in any attacking position, and then I just feel like his weight. So we're here, coming in, and then I just pop in. So this one I dive in just a little bit. As I dive in, I fall heavy on my hip, and my collar tie is pushing his head over that far knee, so he can't stand on that knee, right? So if I did this and I allow him to stand, no good. I come here so he can't stand on the knee, control the arm, and now I can use this leg. Everything's the same. I stand, I come up, and then I come out.
So you're talking about the difference in this is the grips, right?
Yeah.
So why not use an underhook grip is when somebody has an underhook on you, even if you're a white belt, you know this is not good.
Yeah.
If somebody grabs this, it's a little different. It's not as threatening.
Not as certain. People think, that's all right, I'm going to come in and smash him anyway. Whereas if I have an underhook, Ed may be...
I'm more prone to back up. I'm going to want to back up. Yeah. Instead of this, you can just start playing this game up front.
Exactly.
And not...
This one, he may start grabbing my leg anyway, and then I can fall into it. So, in that way, it has a huge advantage.
So when I started doing this one specifically, one of the problems, not a problem, but you end up in a different kind of spot. With an underhook, you end up very strong.
Yeah. And
you get to dictate, like you say, you go this way, that way. This one, you have a little less options, and it's a little more, especially no-gi, they might end up with an underhook. I used to end up in that crucifix position we were in last week. So I would knock them over, maybe they would get an underhook, and
And then you would go to a Kimura. Yeah.
That's what my whole game was. I would knock them over. They would end up with an underhook. Jump with the Kimura over the head. Crucifix.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. So because you don't have like a proper underhook to pass afterwards, the way you finish it is going to be a little bit different almost every time you do this. Okay. So if I do hit the sweep off, right, and I come up, this is where I don't like necessarily like jump into a passing position. I like to keep this knee on the mat, hand on the mat, and then this leg is light. And I like to always just pick up this knee here because if Ed goes for an underhook, I'm blocking his ability to get up. And then he may realize, ooh, there's a threat for me to mount him, so he may start backing away. Okay, he could go to deep half guard for sure. If I come in, he may jump into deep half guard. At this point, I like to step over the head, look to get my elbow inside. Another option he may do is he may back up to try to make me drop my knee. So I make sure I don't drop my knee. I just back up enough that I can get my hand inside. And now I can go here.
Yeah, back when I was a blue belt, we weren't. I wasn't doing that yet. Like that's kind of like your half guard assassin position, and something I've been using a lot regularly with getting caught when guys sit up and pass the gi in between your legs, like Jimmy style.
Yes,
that's when this is absolutely necessary. Get your knee across and kind of control their hips. That's pretty much what you're doing. You're keeping. I can't get up because you're controlling my hips.
Exactly, and it's some people like they're too in love with the idea of the underhook, thinking that that's the answer. The underhook is the answer, but if you can't get up to your knees, you can't really even use the underhook. So if I'm here, I finish the sweep, and then I come here, he can't really get up, and he can't effectively use the underhook. In fact, he may open himself up for worse attacks if he tries to really fight it. Okay, and then the last version, probably the one that I use the most, is the overhook. Okay. This one, if you were to just like categorize them all, like this is the one that the majority.
This is the Goldilocks one. This is just right.
Yeah, this one's just right. So they both kind of like obviously the underhook one usually I get when I'm already like
deep, like maybe in transition.
Yeah, in transition I already have the underhook and the person stays, and they're not aware that that threat. The other, if we're kind of like neutral, I may have to do this, but ideally, if I come in this way, I may even start with the collar tie, and I come in, and then the person goes for an underhook on me. Okay, so now I'm going to do my overhook. Okay, and then when I play with this overhook, I get it nice and deep, and I like to grab my thigh. So rather than just overhooking, where my leg and my hand is separated, I like to overhook and grab the thigh. Now I make sure that I don't let Ed's head get lower than mine. So if his head is in my chest, this is no good for me. So what I'm going to look to do is I always circle my head to the other side, and almost always I will grab my wrist. So I like doing overhook, grabbing my thigh, other hand on the wrist, because he's going to be using his hand. So I like pushing it in right over here. Now I do the same thing where I retract my leg. This hand is now going to help me lift, even if the person is, like I feel right now, Ed is starting to sprawl a little bit, okay? So I'm going to need a little bit of support. So all I'm doing with this hand is pulling my knee in so I get underneath him more. As I come in, now I stand on this leg. And now it's the same thing. I'm just going to run him over. And now my knee is on top of his hip. So once again, I'm going to look to get my underhook with the knee in the hip so that it's hard for him to keep the underhook, and now I can start passing. Sometimes you can do stuff like, if you're quicker than the person, you can windshield wiper the leg to the inside. So as you see, I'm like in a knee on belly right here. And now, if he tries to get up, I'm going to probably do a back step to the back. Or windshield wipe to the other side of the mouth.
So that's one of the things that you're not glossing over, but important is the head on the shoulder, or head across, good posture, not looking down, stuff like that.
Yeah. Head position is so important. In any guard, head position is super important. So if I'm if I have the underhook and Ed just puts his head lower than mine and I think, oh, I'm just going to throw him over here, he's now going to flatten me out. Now he can hop this knee and force a half guard on me. That's going to be a good position for him. Sometimes I get flattened out anyway. So what I end up doing is I end up pushing him back with my hooks and then circling my head in the transition. Then when he comes back in, I have my head in the right spot. I can control his wrist. I grab my own thigh. Remember, I'm grabbing the thigh to pull him in, not to lift him up. Here he can sprawl on me and there's going to be a problem. I want him closer to me like this. This leg comes in and then I come up. Let's look at that again. He got the underhook on me. I overhook, grab my thigh, and I circle my head to the other side. So now he can't flatten me out. And I look to grab the wrist. As I grab the wrist, I almost push it into his hip like this. All right, it's very hard for him to pull the arm out. Now I pull this hook in, and I start standing. And then I look for the underhook. Really solid position.
Another important part that you're saying is you start like this, right? This is no good. Why? Even without them pushing you over, you're kind of in your own way when you're doing the sweep.
If you want to sweep, exactly.
So when we're here, you want them forward, so you want to move out of the way.
Yeah.
And instead of pulling them onto you and going over, that's one of the beginner mistakes that I see the most. These guys try to come this way.
Yeah, and then they get flattened in the meantime, especially a heavier opponent or more experienced. So the idea is like you got to give them somewhere to fall, so you get out of the way a little bit. So if Ed's on his knees and I'm the top player, right here, as soon as he starts moving to the side a little bit, I'm already kind of falling forward. And then when he goes to grab my wrist, boom, there's a good position to just knock him right over.
I like what you were saying about the wrist too. I'm big on controlling the wrist. So I can have just a little bit extra.
A little extra, and then they have to. They can only like try to open their elbow and stuff. It's also like there's triangles sometimes. Like if you sweep and get up, and then they get back into your guard, you can lead right into some submissions. Yeah, that's not your style. I love that style though. I see Dwayne in the chat saying he loves butterfly. Definitely, Dwayne's a big butterfly. In fact,
Dwayne's old school.
Absolutely, and the inverted armbar, I don't think there's someone that attacks that better than Dwayne around here, you know?
He loves the old school game, triangles.
Yeah.
So strong.
So sitting like this, like we were talking about sitting like this too. Now, this is a different type of butterfly now. So I can sit this way, but it's a little bit different. I'm gonna be sitting like this with my hips back and my head forward. My shoulders should be at least even with my knees. Sometimes I'll keep my feet in close so I can put my hands in front of my feet so that if he goes to grab, I can look for arm drags, okay? But the idea is you want to be strong here anyway so that if Ed goes to push me back, I'm just going to start scooting back. I always want to be sitting this way. I'm not going to do butterfly sweeps from here. From here, I'm just keeping my hips back so that he doesn't flatten me out. And then when I come in, I'm going to look for underhooks to start exposing the arms.
So if I'm trying to lift here, you just kind of break your grips and scooting back?
Yeah, exactly. So if you grab my ankles, I grab your wrists. And I'm going to start scooting back, possibly arm drag. So head forward.
See, I don't play this game. That's why I primarily do this, because I stay away from the arm drags, but I got to start doing arm drags.
Yeah, if you do the arm drag, they have to defend the arm drag, right? It's like they have to defend the arm drag, and then when they pull their arm back, then you can start coming and you can combine the two. Now, sometimes what I can do is I'm going to look to attack an arm. So let's just say, let's look at this arm over here. Let's actually turn it the other way. Scoot down this way because I feel like we keep running into the other side of the frame. All right. So what's going to end up happening is I'm going to look to get double underhooks here, and then I'm going to pull him onto me. So if I can connect my hands, great. If not, I can just hook around, and as I fall, I bring my knees in and I lift. So why did I lift? Because it makes his hands on the floor. He's got to put his hands on the floor, and then I can choose. If I want to go for this one, I'm going to connect my hands and hug. So this is the the first position is making this grip here and trying to make his shoulder touch my chest. Right here. This is real important. I'm using a palm to palm. Sometimes I can go a deeper grip. This is something like Danaher teaches a lot. This is this wrist to wrist grip, which is a little bit deeper and a little bit tighter. So if that goes to pull away, it's very tough. Okay? And then I look to make my angle. I use my butterfly hooks to get me on my side, and then I get my feet where I need them to be. So this foot is on the hip with my knee in front of the shoulder. This is keeping the distance. This foot is on the hip with my knee up higher than the shoulder. Now, from here, I just slide down, I catch the elbow, and now what I'm going to look to do is I'm going to look to get to my side here and rotate his elbow, okay? So his defense would always be to pull his elbow in and suck the arm out. So if I can do this to him, so how am I doing this? Just by wrapping my bicep around his tricep and controlling the elbow. Now, here's an important detail when I'm doing this, because sometimes, like I said, he's going to try to pull the elbow in. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to push with my feet, but keep my head forward. And he feels it right away, right? A lot of people are doing this. They're focusing on this, and then the thumb turns, and they lose it. So for his thumb to get in front of my face, he needs that space. So if I keep my head forward, try to get your hand in front of my face. And this is where the pressure of the arm bar is. So I keep my head forward, but I'm pushing him this way. It's putting constant pressure right here. The knee on top of the shoulder is important too, because if you're doing one of these, like sometimes people go here and they throw the leg, I'm not actually putting direct pressure on the shoulder, and he's got the ability to turn again.
If I can lift my head up, it relieves it a lot. Like when you put the thing down, I can't lift my head.
Yeah, it makes it hard for him to lift the head up, and then from here, I'm just going to move back.
Yeah, it's tight.
It's a nice tight arm lock.
I stopped doing this one.
Yeah.
I didn't have these details.
Yeah, sometimes you forget some of these details, and when you when you revisit the technique, you're like, ooh, I'm gonna.
I don't think I ever gave this one a real shot. Like
Yeah.
I would make that grip, but I would just skip ahead to do the sweep. I would never actually do because that stuff would happen to me. They would turn the arm out, and I wasn't doing the foot on the hip, and that deeper grip, you could feel it. I could feel the difference. You're not coming out.
Yeah, you're not just pulling the arm out. Of course, I got to get all the way to the side. So let's see the entry again. I'm going to come in. I'm going to look to get underhook, pull him in. Sometimes I'll grab around the head too. Okay? And then as the person starts backing their head back, I bring my arm across, I hug tight, and I try to get to my side. Now I come here, I catch the arm, and now we have to remember, I can't do this and think I'm like a regular arm bar is like this, right? But this is an inverted arm bar, so everything's backwards. So I have to come forward, and this is where the pressure is. Boom. If I arch my hips, that's where I lose his elbow.
I'm just trying to think about this, like, from a stalling perspective. How do I get out of this?
Yeah.
Because I want to bring my hips, I want to walk this way. That foot here, it, like, stops you. You can't, I want to get close and over so I can make my arm do this.
Yeah, I feel that to get out of it, you have to either stop it while I'm still flat on my back. Like, then there's a chance to pull the arm in.
Yeah, because as soon as you get on your side, your control, my posture is completely...
Yeah. In fact, so the only way to start, that's where you start opening up the sweep. So this worked great with a basic sweep. You see Gordon's using this like crazy in competition. Marcelo used to use this back in the day a lot. In fact, he was the first one I saw do it, and at ADCC back in the day.
Against a monster or someone in his own division?
It was a big guy.
Big guy. This is a great move for big guys.
Exactly. And he attacked the arm so good that when he got on top, also he was already like in position to submit the guy too, which is great. So what ends up happening is I come here, I get to this position, and then I want to do this, right? So he gives resistance and he puts me flat on the back. So now I'm going to come the other way. Are we in frame? There you go. What I want to do is I still want to pull down, but I want to turn up. You see, my elbow has to be as close to the other shoulder as possible, because what that's going to do is going to make him look up towards the ceiling. Now I just lift up with my hooks, and as I turn the hooks, I just turn my arms like a wheel. And now, as I come on top, the arm is separated from his body. So if he tries to shrimp on this side, he can't. He can only shrimp on the other side, but then he's got to worry about me going for his arm and doing my attack. So actually, let's turn this way. Maybe they can see what I'm doing this way. So I came in, and I'm pulling this way, and I want to do this. I'm getting that energy, but he's keeping me flat. When he does this, I'm going to turn my hips this way, and I make sure my elbow's here. If my elbow is open at all, he's going to circle his head inside and use that to keep me flat. So I want to be like pinching my elbows down and get it underneath. Now I make him look up, and then my hooks are going to be like this. Look, I'm going to extend my legs, but I'm still going to turn them. Keep my weight heavy on the shoulder. I keep his arm open, so for him to do any escape on this side, he needs this, right? If I come here, he tries to escape from this side, he can't, so he's going to have to try to escape the other side, and I'm going to be ready. Like if those of you guys who don't use like the modified mount where one knee is up, this is the best one knee shrimp to that direction. So he has no choice. He has to shrimp towards the other direction. I'm going to be going over here, reach underneath, feed the wrist, and now we have the gift wrap. Gift wrap you can armbar or you can take the back. Usually the back takes the best from here, and then you can, if it was gi, you have lots of nice chokes from there.
Is there a way for somebody to give you problems posting with their legs as you're trying to lift?
If they're posting with their legs, that means they're set. They're probably good. Let me see. It is possible to post with the legs a little bit, but if I'm here, go back to where you just were. So it's because the arm is.
You don't have it.
Yeah. So if the arm is extending too much that you're coming here, you're gonna have to back up and go back to the arm attack.
Yeah.
So the tightness in the grip is key. If you have a tight grip around that shoulder, it's gonna be.
It makes like an awkward angle, because the further I can get, like even my base out with my hand, that's enough.
Yeah.
You have such a good grip on the arm that there's.
Yeah.
And you're getting this in like it's like a window.
Right. It's one and the other.
They're not hanging out on top of you floating.
Yeah.
This is you're going for the arm hard, and as soon as they put that extra, when you do this, it feels like you cheated or something. Like
I know.
Or like they just flopped for you.
They just flopped and they fell almost for you. Dwayne say I'm too kind. No, it's true. Dwayne attacks his armbar all the time, and I like seeing him using it because a lot of times he's rolling with like a younger guy that's bigger than him, and then all of a sudden he separates their arm like this, and they get rolled over so easily, and he gets to like a 3/4 mount right away. That it just shows. That's like the beauty of jiu-jitsu. It's like you're exposing a big weakness. You're making them like so they want to pull their arm, but they can't because you've taken that space, and you have a great. Great attack. That's what jiu-jitsu is all
We're
about.
talking about best case scenario. What happens if they get the elbow in?
If they get the elbow in, you may have to go back to re-attacking it or go for another technique. You really can't get the technique when they do get their elbow in.
But don't you think that adds some kind of risk to it? Because if you get flattened in butterfly and you don't have the proper grips, like you're flat, but you have a great grip, like a dominating grip. In butterfly, you don't want to be on your back flat if you don't have any grips.
Well, the thing is, when you do get the arm out, now he's gonna. As soon as the arm comes out, you can use your butterfly hooks to make the space that you might need.
So
right?
you would ideally want to try to sit back up and restart.
Yeah. So if I'm here, and then Ed's starting to come here, I'm gonna try do something
This is a big deal because
Yeah.
when I roll with guys, and maybe they don't try this specifically, but they are not. I'm talking to you, Dave. As soon as they are missing their move, and I get like this, I get like this.
Yeah.
And you're extending, as you're losing the arm,
Yeah, exactly.
you're extending right now.
Now is where I extend. I have to realize that the thread is here. You're already inside my knees. Like this space, anything between my knee and my chest is the space that you want and I have to protect. So And I'm here. I'm here. Yeah, I'm already extending, and now I'm taking the space back so that I can go back to.
Yeah, this is one of the people tell me I'm so big, I'm so heavy, I'm too strong. This position for any person, if I want to exploit it on top, I'm gonna try to connect my knees and my elbows and keep your heels to your butt. So I'm just gonna come here.
Boom. Now look, if I want to extend, I can.
So this is what I ended up with David. He's like, I don't know, I can't do anything with it. It's because he made the mistake a long time ago. If you're losing the arm, extend now. You gotta make space immediately.
Yeah, if it's like if you're if the hands are connected in the rear naked, it's like, what do you do now? It's like you should have stopped it when the hand was starting to come.
You shouldn't have got your back taken.
Yeah, you should have got your back taken. That's important. Prevention, absolutely. So if the guy pulls the arm out, you want to extend and make sure that you get that space back, because if they're inside of your knees, you have no frame anymore, right? My knees count as a frame, you know. It's not as ideal as maybe like my hands inside like this, but if I can extend and get my knees inside, it's a knee shield. It's a different knee shield than normal. Like,
that's kind of what you've been doing lately. Is like you were showing me, even though your knees are connected, if you can keep the one knee up on the shoulder, it's not necessarily a terrible position because you're keeping they can't come into.
Yeah, they can't come in.
And when they back up, then you're saying you switch out of it.
And then you switch out, you look to transition. I did want to also go over what happens if you did come back and then the hand comes to the other side of your head. So maybe I did the arm bar pretty good, like I got to my side, but the person slipped their arm out, or maybe I made a mistake and allowed to let the guy's arm slip out. There is other arm attacks and even back takes from there. So I'm here, nice and tight. I get to my side, and I even get to this position where it's pretty good. Now remember what I said. To finish this attack, I got to be here with my head forward, okay? But maybe this happened, and now I know that his hand's going to pop out. So when his hand pops out, I'm going to look to, this arm is going to look to hug, and then this arm is going to look to turn back. And I have this angle on him where I'm sideways. So I'm going to kind of use this to my advantage, and I'm going to try to use my elbow to get up onto my bottom knee, like this. All right, so now my hips are definitely higher than his head, than his hips, I mean. If you hang out like this and I try to throw my leg over, he just flattens me, he runs me over. But when I'm here, I'm nice and high, I can come right over. So this is the goal, to get this knee in front of his face, my foot here, and I drop. I still have the arm. Now I fall right to my side, and just like when we went over the details of the far side armbar, this is the same way that you want to finish. One hand on the wrist, one hand over the thumb. Let's scoot over a little bit, make sure. So here, I moved back and his arm slipped out, okay? So now this foot can't be here though. So you make sure that you get your foot out a little bit, at least to catch his body here, because if I try to get up this way, he's going to get past my knee. So I want to at least step, ideally stepping. If not, just hooking around here is fine, as long as I start getting up to my knee. Elbow and knee. This arm's here. This knee comes over, and I bring my knees together. Now I'm going to fall right to my hip. This hand now catches the wrist. The other hand to the thumb.
Classic.
Yeah, old school.
This is old school mixed with your new school. Imagine if you showed yourself this 15 years ago.
I know. I'd be like, oh, yeah. So, slipped out. I reach back. I come up. I climb up. Turn. And let's actually keep this angle, but like turn this way so everyone can see what my arms are doing. Here. And then the other hand catches. I don't let him grab his thigh. If he does grab the thigh, I make sure that I'm here, making sure he doesn't step over my head. If he tries to step over the head, I redirect, pull the arm out, and we're back to our same stuff we did a couple weeks back when we did that live stream.
So, it's old school kind of mixed with old school though, because that's basically your closed guard arm bar when we're doing the elbow across.
It is. This actually connects with closed guard very well. So in the beginning, when you're learning closed guard, you may have these moves. Now, butterfly guard is, I think, a little easier to learn at. I think, like, if you're training a little bit both gi and no gi, I think going to butterfly guard as a beginner is definitely a good way to start.
One of the problems, though, everybody's standing up.
Yep, everyone's standing up.
I feel like butterfly guard has fell off in the gi for sure.
Yeah.
Like, people aren't playing butterfly guard.
Yeah. Unless you're already, like, mounted and then you escape to butterfly and then you use that to transition. Now, that's why you're going to have to play, like, a sitting up guard if someone is standing. Right? So if Ed is standing on me and I can't butterfly, I'm going to have to look to hug a leg and use this butterfly hook like this with my knee on the outside. And then this leg can play a few different ways. So if his leg is stepped back a little bit, I'll step here. This is great. This is ideal. Okay? If he's a little bit close, it's okay because I can use this hook here to kick forward and force his hands to the mat. Boom. And then I can go with the X hook or leg attacks. Okay? Then if he starts backing away, I can start looking for my X guard, to underhook the leg and stuff like that. Sometimes if he's standing and then I back up and I'm like in a good position, he may end up backing away and going to his knees because he doesn't like being here. Now I can start working my same attacks, either underhooking, coming this way, going for my hook sweep game, going to the double like the first thing we showed. When he back drives into me, I can go into the butterfly game.
How about, so we worked on the underhook from butterfly guard, and it's very similar to the overhook in closed guard. Kind of get to your side, controlling the shoulder.
Overhook.
Like when you're doing omoplatas and triangles from the overhook position.
Exactly.
Closed guard. Do you never connect those kind of hook sweep in that, or no?
I will sometimes go from the hook sweep to the submissions.
Oh, to that, yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of times you might have a good position for the sweep, but I didn't go enough to the side, and he did manage to stand on this leg. So at this point, my foot comes on the inside and steps in the hip. Then I just push the knee down, and now we're in this overhook position that we normally do in closed guard. If his hands are on me, the goal is to get his hands on the mat, get an overhook, shrimp, and we're in the same position. So from the butterfly guard, he posts his leg, and I felt like there's no way I'm gonna sweep him now. His leg is too strong. So this leg, watch what I do with this leg. I bring it inward. It's gotta come inward. I'm never gonna be able to retract my leg all the way back to get him. And if I start trying to do this and he's coming forward, I may end up here, which is not the worst thing, but it's not the best thing either, especially if the person knows how to put pressure. So once I'm here, I put my foot inside. So as he comes in, we're here. Now I'll take this hook out, shrimp a little bit, and now we're in, here's omoplata, here's the triangle.
But that's the same kind of pressure on the shoulder, like I can't turn into, or if I really try to, then that's when those two submissions really work.
Exactly, yeah. So that's definitely, that's something I've always done, I think, like connected the hook sweep with that, with omoplata, especially, no gi, but knowing to step on the hip. And there's a reason for it. It's like, a lot of times a person standing on the leg, I'll still sweep them because if they're driving forward enough, I'll still sweep them.
For sure.
It's when the person posting the leg and just kind of backs away a little bit, and then they're like, you can't pull them anymore. Now it might be a good idea to just step on the hip because you have the space to do it too.
That's one of the great things about doing this in no gi, because there's just a little less control.
Yeah.
In the gi, if you got somebody's belt,
I know you can
really
forward.
Get them to come forward, and this doesn't.
That's
matter.
why Adam Warzinski is so effective. He does the belt grip and wrist, belt and wrist. Even other guys, I've seen Bouchesha use that. I think he used that on Hodger when they fought Metamoris. I have to watch again. I could have sworn he used the belt grip wrist. And I know Hidalgo used it on Buchecha.
Really?
The last time he beat Buchecha, like years ago.
Oh, that's a long time.
But yeah, he did the belt grip wrist. He ended up finishing the sweep into a belly down armbar because Buchecha tried to like go belly out to avoid getting mounted or whatever.
Can you imagine how much that works for him though?
Yeah.
Buchecha probably.
I know, he does.
You can't do that.
We were studying, yesterday in the Zoom, we were studying one of Buchecha's matches against Bernardo, and it was actually kind of funny because Bernardo has a very simple game. Everyone knows exactly what he's going to do. And then Buchecha twice, like, was in a position, like, didn't do any, like, technical, like, wizardry at all. He just, like, spun and went crazy and then ended up on top again. We're like, oh my God, must have been. And Bernardo was winning until the very end. And then Buchecha did what he does best and ended up like winning by like 2 points, 3 points, whatever it was. It was a good match, but I felt bad for Bernardo.
You got it because we play that game.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I really felt his pain.
I've felt that pain for about 13 years.
Yeah.
Just getting smothered by somebody just better.
Yeah, especially when they're like quick. I mean, that was like what it was like wrong with Dylan when he was younger. You know, he used to visit maybe before he was still in a lower belt, but it would be tough and then he would guillotine you or something like that. You know, that's like, it's frustrating when you're like, oh, I got the underhook, boom, 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 all of a sudden.
Well, we were talking about maybe doing the double leg. What about I know you have a guillotine set up there too from that kind of, from this.
Yeah. I actually do it from the collar tie too. So what's good about this collar tie here, if the person is not leaning enough forward, I can pull them. I can sometimes come up to my knee here. So I can come here, here, and here. Now my head is just slightly higher than yours. So now I just pass. And here's an important detail, guys. Make sure when you do a guillotine, your elbow is straight down. Your elbow is not next to you. I did it like this, trying to do this. Ed's neck is really strong from here. He looks up, and he's going to go to my back. I come straight down. Ed's neck is very weak. And then I start wrapping up the neck. So from a collar tie, I can use it. So I can come here, get up to my knees, heavy, and then I sit.
So if they're leaning, or if they're just stationary, if they're running away, you still could do something like this?
Yeah, because if they're running away and I have their head though.
Yeah.
So as you run away, I can feel where your head is.
Right.
Actually, right now I feel like the way you're back.
You can go this way anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm leaning this way.
Yeah.
So
but a lot of times it's like, let's just say you're sitting, you're grabbing my head, and the person's doing this.
Right. Okay.
So when you get up to your knees, you look how much higher because they're putting their head.
That's a good detail because I'm not gonna back up like that.
Yeah.
I don't do this. This isn't good pocket. Of course I'm not.
Yes, you're gonna back up like this, and where does your head go? It goes to the position where I can attack.
I love that too.
Yeah, same thing you said with the double leg, right? If I try to do a double leg, now you're gonna do this. You're gonna try to get your head lower than mine. So now I do the same thing. I come here, I post, get up to my knee. You don't necessarily even have to get up to the knee, but if you do, you guarantee getting your arm straight and your arm in a heavy position. If I just try to come here, you just circle your head and then
that's why I don't do guillotines, because I'm an idiot. I'm doing that kind of stuff like, oh, let me just wrap. I'm thinking about this going around your neck as opposed to you're putting this on my neck. And my arm's just going to be there naturally.
Absolutely. And I started doing this more when I started combining attacking a turtle with guillotines, and then that's when I realized, ooh, look at my position. I just close my elbow. It doesn't matter that I'm not in the perfect position because I'm keeping their head down. And then their only way to escape like this is to back away, and that's usually when they back away, I find their chin, right? So if I'm here, when you go to back away, I just find your chin on the way in and I lock you in place. A lot of times you can get a deeper guillotine when they start backing away, because if you drove into me from this guillotine, it would actually be worse for me, right? So if you drove into me, there'd be a chance I wouldn't connect my hands. But a lot of times when I come this way, people back away and then I start coming in.
If you know like a guy's real tough, from all right, that position right here, what percent do you finish? Just keep going. Go down from here. What percent do you finish from here as opposed to maybe sweep with it instead? Like if you know the guy's real experienced.
Here's the thing. No matter what I'm doing, I still do the same movement, but I probably will sweep more often than I actually choke. But it doesn't matter because if I get a really tight choke here, the person has to give me the top position, which I'm actually fine with because you start the attack.
Yeah, that's what I most often like. I don't like getting guillotined, and that's my defense. I'll just lay down and kind of accept now.
Yeah, better people will fall to the side and then hope that they've made enough space that they can get their head out, but they are going to give up the sweep. So that's like, I know a lot of times, especially in the no-gi scenario, I'm wrong with a wrestler. If I can get to their neck, much easier than to get underneath them and get to X guard or get my butterflies underneath them.
So you're never gonna, like for most submissions, you're not gonna squeeze unless you know you got it.
Yeah, not until I know you got it. You can almost feel it though. It's like here, okay, good, I'm gonna get it. You know exactly. But if it's like if it's not perfect and you're trying to do it from here and your elbows are out, you're gonna end up like the person's gonna end up slipping out and possibly get into a position where they can flatten me.
Yeah, I feel like when sometimes I'll say go on the guillotine and it's just not. I'm thinking about my arms and not my legs enough.
Yeah.
Guillotines, I feel like leg position is more important than
Yeah, and knowing when to squeeze is important because usually I focus on making sure they can't escape from the guillotine. So I'll just come here and I'll just hold their chin. Like let's just say I don't have the best guillotine. I have something like this. I barely have your head. I just make sure I just hold your head and you're not gonna like just being here. So you're gonna try to get your head somewhere. So now I'll go forward and back until I can.
That's my nightmare. I hate getting guillotines.
Guillotines do suck. These days I feel like I rarely get guillotined because I'm aware of it and I'm attacking a lot more. But some guys like Greg's got a good guillotine, man. If you're not careful.
I won't let Greg do it.
No.
You know the last person or one of the last people to guillotine me. It hasn't been many. Is Piconich.
Oh.
Just like I can. Yeah. I know I know how to defend myself, especially in half guard. But he just is so strong, and he just knows where to put the pressure.
You know what? I mean, I'll be honest. Like guys with good wrestling base, they work the front headlock a lot, so they just snatch your head a lot, And a lot of times you're not getting your guard. You don't want to get your guard pass, so you're doing stuff like this, and they're so quick at like all the years of wrestling going to a front headlock. It's the same thing. It's like me doing this is because I'm calling for a single leg. So if you front headlock every time, boom, and sprawl on me.
I'm not good. I'm terrible in that position.
Yeah.
That's one of my worst positions.
And doing it, having to use it on a guy with like good wrestling and lots of jiu-jitsu becomes...
I feel like a complete fool when I front headlock somebody that knows how to wrestle. I know what's about to happen. I might as well just pull guard.
Yeah, right? Well, you know what? Once you start adding like putting the head in the hole, like... Remember back in the day when Matt Hughes choked out Ricardo Almeida in the UFC?
I don't remember that match.
So he did a front headlock, right?
He did like some kind of wrestler.
Yeah, I don't really know the choke that well, but basically he has this front headlock here, and then he just starts walking this way, right?
It's like a neck crack.
Yeah, but he put him to sleep.
Wow.
So in wrestling, there are these Schultz brothers, the Schultz brothers that used to put people to sleep with it because it was a legal position, but they didn't know. And refs would be like,
what happened?
Just be watching. And then all of a sudden the guys, and then they would pin him. And then afterwards they realized the guy'd be asleep. And then I think they like put some rules in because it's like, you can't be.
That's brutal.
Can't be putting in jokes. But, knowing that, like walking to the side, pressure, and still try. I remember watching that and that fight, and I was aware of that technique, but never saw it in an actual. And then against a black belt, like a really good black belt.
He was a slick man.
Yeah.
Even back in the day, like he only did no gi, so he didn't really have a belt, but he was brutal.
I know.
Remember he had what's his name, Hoist, and that straight arm bar.
Oh yeah.
And Hoist would rather die than.
I know.
He probably really messed his arm up from that.
I think at that point, Matt Hughes' like athleticism too was just too much for Hoist too.
But he had those sneaky tricks too. Like he armbarred GSP because GSP did it.
I know, that was a beautiful counter. I didn't know that he knew that counter. I don't even think I was a blue belt that time. I don't think I knew that counter yet.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah. And then but that when he did it to Ricardo, that's when I was like, oh, damn, that's like a really good technique. And basically, it's like an anaconda, only without having to figure four, using your head to close the space. So it's like, yeah, it's a joke.
I should learn that one.
Yeah.
I'm a strong neck.
Absolutely. Dwayne thinks that Greg is the king of the guillotine, so.
In this room, yeah. I'm terrible. I'm probably the worst guillotiner in the whole world.
Well, once you start,
it's because I'm
once
thinking
you get a few setups
I'm
that
thinking
you
about
you're
like
gonna-
certain. I'm thinking about arms too much. It's all about like this wrap or like what do I do with my hands as opposed to where my chest and the rest of my body goes.
Absolutely.
It really is a whole body move, and I didn't look at it that way. I look at it from a white belt perspective. Oh, you just wrap.
I know. Well, when I was a lower belt, for sure, I would get frustrated burning my arms out, and I'd be like, only the really strong guys can do this. So this is stupid. I don't want to learn it. And then as I start learning more, even these days, like I start seeing, like, you study some of the guys in competition. Gary Tone's got a really good guillotine, and you're like, oh, it's like you put your elbow in. I'm just applying this type of principle to most things in jiu-jitsu.
But wasn't Marcelo doing guillotines? Like,
yeah.
But how was he setting them up?
That's a good question. So Marcelo was probably he's just kind of always, I don't know, honestly. I would guess that he would go for a butterfly guard and they put their head down enough, he would go for the guillotine. Or he would do it when he's passed already, because common thing is like, let's just say I pass your guard, but I'm like doing one of these.
Oh, he's sneaky. He'd want you to come up.
And then
Right. I remember that a little bit.
Yeah. I think that's how he's getting him. Actually, I like that way of getting the guillotine too.
You showed that a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I never got into it. It was one of those things I was just not. I don't want that one.
I
should have did it.
Yeah, it's a good way.
It's a great cheap way out of. I need those cheap ways out of rolls. I make rolls way too hard on myself because I'm like I gotta pass.
You have too many rules.
Take the back and then choke them honorably like a man. None of these footlocks or guillotines.
Yeah, I know. Because people walk into them, so you don't think of it as like as much.
Well, a guillotine's kind of like the sweep we're doing today. Like when you do it, you're like, oh, that was too easy.
It was just too easy.
But you earned it. You put yourself in the right position to get
Sometimes
there.
I tap like really tough guys with guillotines early. I'm like, oh, I'm surprised he actually tapped to that one. But it was just because he just walked into it and wasn't ready for it,
And what happens is, the way you're doing it, I can feel the power of it. Like, I'm trying to bridge or get... It's very uncomfortable. And if you've ever been guillotined, it's not comfortable.
Exactly.
So when somebody's controlling you, like, strongly there, I mean, I'd rather tap than have... You've messed up your throat many times just waiting too long to tap.
It's the worst thing.
I've been I'll tap to a guillotine, but very rarely. And I'll tap early. I won't be gurgling.
Yeah.
I've seen many guys get just dropped on their face.
I know. How about Dan Miller back in the day? We did the standing guillotine in the IFL. And they put the guy to sleep.
I didn't see that one.
Oh, he was like a purple belt at that time. And it was before he got into the UFC, so like it wasn't well known. But he did a standing guillotine with the guys and he put the guy to sleep while he was standing. But the guy's body went limp, and his head was literally like, his ear was on his own chest. It was crazy. It looked like he broke his neck, but it was just because his body's...
I saw something similar, but I was my first white belt tournament ever. It was my first tournament ever. And I saw a kid from our school, who was also a white belt, get choked.
I remember the story. I don't remember the... He was like a wrestler or something, right? Or I don't remember who it was.
No, it was like I forget. He pretty much started with me, and it was like we're 3 months in, and I watched him get choked unconscious like that, just dropped to the mat. It was pretty. And
then you're like, oh, it's my turn now.
I'm like, I don't think I ever want to get guillotined. That was one of those things like I'm not going to guillotine.
Yeah.
I can't have that happen.
I know.
Traumatized me.
If there's like one way to end the match in 5 seconds, it's always a guillotine.
Of course, that was
you
my
see
worst
that every
nightmare.
Tournament, especially in August.
It's like, come on, I came all the way over here. I'm going to lose 10 seconds to a guillotine. Not happening.
Not happening.
I'm going to drag this thing out and get beat for. I'd rather take a beating for 5 minutes.
Definitely. Oh, never mind. It's the same thing. But yeah. Well, anyway, guys. That's about everything I wanted to really go over from the butterfly. Definitely, if you're watching this later, rewind. We definitely showed a good wide range of techniques, stuff that people can use at all levels, I think, and very high percentage. So these are all things that will work at all levels. You see it in competition and in training all the time.
You see it less though.
Yeah,
less.
Not as much these days. But in Nogi, you're starting to see it.
No, but this is a great. I feel like you have to know it though.
Yeah,
it's
you got to know.
Foundation. You got to know this, and you have to know about when to use it. You learn a lot of lessons about all other parts of jiu-jitsu just doing this position. Like if guys are backing up, if guys are standing still, if guys are putting pressure. You got to know the full arsenal of stuff.
Yeah, you need the full arsenal, and the simpler the stuff is, you want to have all the basics down. You want like all the simple moves.
So you don't have to force anything.
Yeah,
it's just kind of reading the guy. And
because a lot of times just doing it at the right time is the reason that you're going to get it to work.
Well, you can get guys to back up too. Like you can kind of set your own. That's what Marcelo was saying in the interview I was listening to. Is he always wanted to set his pace, his game. He wanted you to start defending his stuff first. So he's going to start pushing you. So you come forward, then he's going to... That's when we can start doing it.
You can see it yesterday in the stream, in the Zoom, when we were breaking down matches. We watched 2 of Marcelo's matches from 2010. And they were like identical matches. You know, you could totally see that both guys, he ended up getting north-south chokes. It was in the gi. And he passed the same way. It was interesting to see. And then you get to see that, like, all the top guys, their matches... If you watch a bunch of their matches, you're like, yep, they're doing the same moves, but they just got it down. Where like, very few guys, like Cobrinha's like one of these guys that probably has such a wide variety of moves, you don't know what kind of game he's going to play.
I mean, he's been in it so long, and he's been trying to keep up, and especially his division is so dynamic.
Yeah. But like Hoffa, we were watching Hoffa's matches, even when he was like 20, it was like, same game, but no one could stop it. He was just killing guys, you know?
Right, but even them, remember they were talking about their tournament, they would like to focus on like maybe 3 or 4 moves.
Yeah.
And these are the 7 moves we're trying to get to.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a great way to look at any, just find the moves that, like this whole series works. You have to try to get them to come to their knees. And once they're on their knees, you got a bunch of different options to kind of maneuver them. Like dance. Make them dance your dance.
Yeah, make them dance your dance. Cool. So... we'll be doing the Zoom tomorrow if you guys want to come in and study with us. Today was a pretty good stream. Friday we're going to be doing yoga again with Lauren. I think we're doing like shoulder stretches, which I think something in jiu-jitsu that a lot of people lack flexibility in their shoulders.
That's me.
And then of course To the Death podcast with Ed and Dave.
Yep, episodes. We got 3 episodes out. We're gonna have our first guest.
Yeah.
Special guest on
Special guest.
Monday.
You're not going to want to miss that one. Awesome. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Make sure to like and subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe so you don't miss.